Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine. Snip, snip.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that living life city, sweet home Chicago. 224 446. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on.
Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman in the business today, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers here, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org. You don't need the WWs anymore. Hi, Flora, I want to thank you very much for your help. And by the way, she's our audience on the web in Mexico City. Thank you so much for watching the show. We appreciate. And over 12,000 of you now have watched shows on the web, which is really pretty cool. Community policing, go to caps24.org. That's a site that Sonny Hirsch, who's the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. You'll find out when all the community policing meetings are for the 24th District, which is basically Rogers Park and West Rogers Park. A little bit of Edgewater in there. But, make sure you check it out. And remember, if you don't talk directly to the police, how are they going to know what happened? Don't expect them to clean up a problem if you haven't let them know what the problem is. It is my pleasure and privilege to have someone that we have had on the show before, but not for quite a while, who's got a brand new position in his life, which, speaking of caps, comes in very useful along those lines, and something that I think is going to be educational for a lot of you. We're talking about the chairman of the Appeals Committee of the Chicago Liquor Board. I probably got the name all wrong.
Chairman of the License Appeals Commission for the City of Chicago.
And that's, for liquor and all that.
Liquor.
And that's, let's have a drink, Dennis Flemming.
Congratulations, Avi. Nice to be back here with you.
First of all, thank you, and it's my pleasure. And, hey, I'm glad to see somebody like you in charge of the commission. That's something we talk about so often, at the camps meetings. But before I get into it, why don't you give us a general overview of what the liquor... And now, first of all, you're an attorney. You've been you've worked in various capacities, many of them governmental over the years. You've been in private practice also. Why don't you give us an idea of what the Liquor Commission is and what the Appeals Commission is?
Well, generally, liquor is governed by the state of Illinois. Under the administration of the first Mayor Daley, they took away the regulation of liquor licenses in the city of Chicago from the state of Illinois Liquor Commission, and they set up what's known then and as now as the License Appeals Commission. And it is a three-person panel. I am appointed and was appointed by the mayor with the approval of the city council. I sit with the chairman of the Illinois the Illinois Liquor Commission, I should say. Right now, that's Commissioner Irv Koppel from Evanston, and also Commissioner Steve Snorf, who is the ranking Republican on the Illinois Liquor Commission. He's from Springfield. We hear two different type cases. We hear what they call revocation and suspension cases, and those are cases in which a licensed premise has been charged and had a hearing on various violations. They can range from things perhaps as minor as not having their licenses portrayed or shown properly to matters such as sales to minors. After a hearing, if a suspension or a revocation is entered, they have a right to appeal to us. We then would review the transcript and the record. We would then make a determination in that situation whether or not the evidence as a whole from that transcript supports the findings of the commission. If it does, we affirm. If it does not, we reverse. We do not have the authority to modify. So if there was a 30-day suspension imposed and we felt perhaps that was too harsh or perhaps not harsh enough, we don't have a right to impose our will over that of the local liquor commissioner. On other matters, if you and I were to open up a tavern or a liquor store,
Let's do it. I'm broke.
Well, we would have to follow certain procedures. And as part of the procedure, you would have to show that you were qualified, that you had the economic basis to do so, that you don't have any criminal background. But in addition, they send out notices to voters within a 250-foot radius from where the licensed premise would be, and they would have the opportunity to write to the local liquor commissioner and indicate their support or opposition. If the local liquor commissioner, which is actually Richard Daley, the mayor of the city of Chicago, acting through Mr. Scott Bruner, determines that issuing a license would cause what they refer to as a deleterious impact on the community, they will deny it. The applicant would then have the right to come in front of us, and that's a little different because that's what they called a trial de novo, which means the city would allege that the opening of this establishment or the granting of this license would cause a deleterious impact, and they would then have to present evidence through members of the community, through members of the CAPS, through the police department, people like that, evidence like that, showing why the issuance of that license would cause a deleterious impact on the community.
Now, this is new licenses we're talking about.
This is new licenses.
Okay.
This is new licenses. And if, in fact, the evidence were to show that there was a deleterious impact, the application would be denied. If we deny it, or if we reverse, actually, and grant it, either side would have the opportunity to appeal to the Circuit Court of Cook County, and then further on up, actually, to the appellate court and the Supreme Court.
So you're actually, okay, so well, hopefully you're the final step in a lot of cases, but people can take it to Circuit Court from there.
All of our decisions can be appealed to Circuit Court.
That's interesting. Now, when you talk about a deleterious effect, I guess through CAPS, when Tom Byrne, who's now the chairman of CDOT, Chicago Department of Transportation, was our police commander, he would, anytime there was a new application for a liquor license, he would ask, in my area, he would ask both myself and Sonny, it was Devon Avenue, because I've got part of Devon, Sonny's got the other part, to write a letter to the Liquor Commission asking them not to put an establishment there because there was a move at the time to limit the number of liquor licenses in the area, because they felt that additional licenses would have a harmful effect on the community.
Well, what you'll find in a number of instances, actually, aldermen have certain other ways of addressing it. They certainly can put in moratoriums throughout the entire ward. Some people have done on packaged goods or in certain areas of the wards. But what we find in a lot of these situations now is that we have areas where there are liquor establishments, and the neighbors feel that those establishments have contributed to problems in the community. Some of the problems can be vagrancy, some of the problems can be loitering, litter, increased traffic, things of that nature. And as a result of that, they feel that the addition of additional licenses would exacerbate that condition and cause a deleterious impact. And what we have to do is to make the determination as to whether or not the evidence shows on its own that the addition of additional licenses would in fact cause a deleterious impact. You can have a situation where many people will feel there already is one. Some people would argue then adding another license, why would that change anything? Even if you don't have it, you still have problems. And the issue there is whether they have shown that the issuance of a new license would tend to exacerbate the problem. Will it bring in additional traffic? Will it bring in additional congestion, additional litter, additional criminal problems? There are situations where there are people that have alleged, and cases have shown, that the existence of packaged goods in particular, selling half pints, selling 40 ounces, things of that nature, draws a criminal element of some sort.
Now, let me ask you, because I guess, I'm not, like, for instance, we were just talking about Ohio before we went on the air. He went to John Carroll. I've got a brother who tells you Shiva. It's interesting that there's all this Cleveland connection between not just you, but people like Terry O'Brien and his family. I think even one of his brother's sons is...
Billy's son is there now.
Yeah.
Playing baseball.
Dick Devine, our state's attorney, spent some time at John Carroll. And, of course, in my family, we're a Tells You Shiva family, which is right next door in Wycliffe. And, that's based from the original institution out in Lithuania. So, for instance, next week in the real world, not in TV time, I'll be out with my brother, in exciting Wycliffe, Ohio. When I go to Wycliffe, Ohio, I notice that when I go to the 7-Eleven there, I can't purchase hard liquor. They will have things like beer or some kind of wine drinks for sale, but in the local 7-Eleven, I can't get hard liquor. I don't know if there's state liquor stores there. I know in Seattle, when I was there, everything's a state liquor store for the most part. Are there differences in Illinois license-wise? I mean, you talk about packaged liquors. Does people just have like a beer and wine license? Is there a hard liquor license? Packaged good. What kind of licenses are there for liquor establishments?
Despite what many people think, there is no straight beer and wine license. Basically, you have the basic license is you'll have a tavern license, and with that tavern license, you do have the right to sell packaged goods as an adjunct to your business. You also have packaged goods stores where you don't have people sitting down and having a drink. And a lot of times you'll find those in Dominick's. You'll find them in the larger groceries chains. You also find them those in some of the smaller 7-Elevens and then some of the smaller mini marts, if you would, that you see. And that is where you tend to find a lot of the community opposition is to the smaller type stores, which seem to be perceived and sometimes proven to be the people that are selling the quarter pints, the half pints, the 40 ounces, the individual cans, which tends to end up on people's lawns.
Right.
Tends to potentially be used by people that are find themselves then loitering, some vagrancy problems, and things of that nature. That's the main one. You also, of course, have you have the restaurant where you have an incidental license to the operation of a restaurant. But the real problem that generally comes up is the question of, in most situations, the packaged goods stores and a tavern. But the packaged good, where it's solely going to be the sale of packaged goods, is where you see most of the cases where the community is opposing.
And okay, so people don't object to restaurants in general, or I know there was one case over here, but that's because people minded the Harley Davidson dealership. So it was more their protest against the Harley Davidson dealership than I think the idea of a restaurant serving alcohol.
Well, there are people, you're going to find certain people that are opposed to the issuance of any liquor license, for religious reasons, for personal reasons. Just west of here in Edgebrook, where I'm living by now, it just went wet for the first time since Prohibition.
Wow,
and
I didn't know that.
There are still a number of people that are upset that the voters allowed it to become wet. And in that particular area, we have two restaurants now. We have Moore's, the Irish pub. But if you've gone in there, I think we've been in there, it's a restaurant more than a bar. There's also an Italian restaurant that opened up. Now, in that particular situation, Happy Foods, which is a large grocery store that serves the community over there, did in fact request, and there was no real objection to them getting a packaged goods store. They put in some beer.
Is that the one at Devon and Central?
Devon and Central, and a large collection of wine. So many people wanted that.
Is Moore's the place across the street from the barber shop?
Right.
Oh, it's when I say Marty, that's Marty's over there. Hi, Marty. And it's also where Terry's
had some of his parties over there.
Right. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I knew. But
you were checking the Guinness to make sure if it was proper.
Well, actually, that'd be Sonny was checking the Guinness. I was wearing the Guinness hat, but I think I was more dealing with Jack at the time. But no, Guinness ain't bad. But that's okay. So that area was dry. I had no idea. Okay. So, but once it went in, the packaged goods, people didn't complain at all about the Happy Foods.
No, from my understanding, Happy Foods went through relatively smoothly. But again, that's a different type facility than what you'll find in a lot of situations. If someone tried to open up again, for lack of terms of it, a mini mart. Now there's a gas station at right by Devon and Central, actually at Central and Peterson there in Caldwell, called 2001. Now we have different laws relative to gas stations selling liquor here, but if it was just a plain mini mart without selling gas, and they asked to have a license to sell liquor, I think you would probably find community objections to it. There was a similar type objection to I believe it was a 7-Eleven, it might have been a White Hen, that is located in Norwood Park. An area of Norwood Park over there on Northwest Highway similarly just was voted wet so that they were allowed to have alcohol. And the 7-Eleven applied for the packaged goods license, and there was such a community opposition that they withdrew their application.
Wow.
Rather than go to the hearing on it.
Interesting. Now, do people have like false reasons for wanting to get? I mean, let's put it this way. I used to hear about a lot. I was talking to you about a particular case that was in Rogers Park, where people were taking over somebody else's license, and the community wanted that license to not be extended. But basically, they were just buying an existing business. They weren't opening a new place.
There are now different laws that have gone in over the last few years. At one time, it was relatively simple to just change the officers of the corporation that holds the license. If the license is held not by you and I, but by a corporation, they would just change the officers, sell the stock, and the city would not really have an opportunity to do much on it. That's been changed now, and the city does have the opportunity to review who is coming in and to do a background investigation and to reject change of officers.
Now, if there was, but that wouldn't affect the moratorium. Let's say there was a moratorium down that Clark Street corridor. Would selling it be affected? Would the moratorium affect that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. Moratorium would prohibit the transfer of the license.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Now, they would have a right. There is also a provision that allows a potential licensee to go to, again, it's a figure approximately, I think it's 250 feet in radius from where the establishment is, and they will give you a list of registered voters. And if you were able to go out, and I believe it's 50% plus one, get them to sign asking that the moratorium can be lifted, there is a procedure that can be done on that. But I'm not an expert on that because I haven't had any of those at this point.
Okay, but in theory, if that were to be the case, and we're just talking in theory now, would that override the wishes of, let's say, a police commander or an alderman?
Well, the wishes of the police commander or the alderman are evidence that is to be looked at in light of all the evidence to make the determination by the commission on how they would vote. So while certainly one would say that the testimony from the police commander as to why he thinks the issuance of a license would cause a deleterious impact, or the testimony from an alderman would come in, there are situations where other evidence may come in to show to the contrary. So it's not just the alderman or the police commander on their own that would have the only people that would be able to give evidence on that or give testimony on it. There are cases, I haven't had that many, I've only been on the job for about 3 months, but there have been cases where you've had 50 to 60 people testifying against the applicant and 50 and 60 people testifying in favor of the applicant.
Wow. Interesting.
I've had situations where the alderman of that particular ward has not taken a stance, has basically said, I'm not going to take an opinion on this because my constituents are equally divided.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, just out of curiosity, well, first of all, you only get the cases that are actually appealed from the Liquor Commission itself. How many cases do you have running at it? You've been there 3 months. I mean, are there been 100 cases, 200 cases?
We are at approximately 150 something for the year.
150 something for the year. So being that we're now talking, well, we're filming, this is airing in October, we're filming a little prior to that, so there'll probably be around 200 for the year.
Could be about 200. We hear cases on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and at this point, I think that we only have one open date in October left.
Wow. And how many would the Liquor Commission hear? I mean, are there a lot of new licenses granted?
There's no way for me to even know because we just get the ones that are appealed from the denial.
Right.
But it's a very busy process down there.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. And plus, they would also have the responsibility, I guess, are they the ones who check on places to make sure they're operating under the rules, or is that something the police do? Or
it can happen in a number of situations. If you have, for example, if there's a disturbance in a tavern and the police are called, the police will generally automatically do what they call a permit check to make sure that all the permits are set up right and the like. And if they find there's a problem there, then they'll write a violation or notify the local liquor commissioner, and they can issue a citation or bring them in and issue a charge. They'll have the opportunity to perhaps talk with them and see if they can resolve it. If they can't resolve it, then it would go to a hearing. you'd have a situation where not only in the city of Chicago, but statewide, they have what they call sale to minor stings going on, where they have 18 and 19, 20-year-old people that are hired by the city or other municipalities, and they will go in with undercover police officers, and the undercover police officers are observing if they can purchase the alcohol.
Wow. Well, I know a little bit about that from camps, but yeah, I wish. Okay. It just, well, you wouldn't have statistics. You're not on the actual
No.
But that's interesting. I know there's one place around here particularly I keep seeing shuttered, and I know from the CAPS meetings I'd like to see it permanently shuttered, but that's not my decision.
No, but again, it's a type of situation where if there is a community feeling that there's a problem, if they contact the mayor's local liquor control commissions, Mr. Scott Bruner is the director, and let them know they feel there is a problem, they will be immediately contacted by them.
Right, and basically you can get there by dialing 311, I
Right.
imagine. So that works out. And but in terms of actually contacting your commission, I mean, somebody's lawyer would have to know what to do in the first place in order to get there. It's not like it's sort of not like you're not an informational agency. In other words, you take things once they've gotten to a certain point. Somebody already has to be legally represented or whatever.
We are on the city website, which explains our function, explains the procedures that would be followed if you are to get there. But most of the time when we get phone calls, it is phone calls that have been misdirected, and they're really looking for the local liquor commission in order to either make a complaint or find out about how they would go about applying for a license.
Interesting. Yeah, I've definitely talked to those operators who've misdirected the calls. Happened to me many times in calling City Hall. Hey, what haven't I asked you you'd like to add?
Well, it's been a great experience for me. It was something new. I've been doing administrative law most of my career, so I kind of fell into this particular situation, and it's a privilege to have been appointed personally by the mayor, and a privilege to continue to work for him, and hopefully to continue to perform in such a way that will show that my appointment was the right one.
Well, actually, I was very happy to hear what had happened. I remember hearing it from our local alderman that you were up for the job, and I was very much hoping you get. Just for those of you who don't know, I've had the privilege of knowing Dennis Flemming for more years than I want to remember, probably at least 25 at this point,
Right.
or something like 25. And I know him to be somebody who's going to do a lot of good for the community, and is a very honest, forthright, and very capable individual. And I want to thank you very much for being here. I appreciate.
Always the best, Avi.
And
Thank you.
Get some more. We'll let you get some more cases under your belt. Then we'll chat some more about it. And I'm going to keep my ears open too at the camps meetings to see what I can find out from the other side and hear what people have to say about these sort of things.
Great.
Okay. Anyway, stay tuned for segment 2. We're going to have a special surprise guest for you. Thanks, everybody.